Thank you for watching This Week in Pro Football. Fidel Barraza with you alongside, like always, all the way from Detroit, Michigan. Walter Stringer, what's going on, Walt?
Week 7. Another very, very eventful week, man. Saw some rock bottom lows for a few franchises. Saw some potentially mountain moving wins for some other franchises. A couple of them we're going to talk about. You'll see at the bottom of the screen right there, including those 6-1 Indianapolis Colts a little bit later in the show. But so what things stood out this weekend?
Yeah,
So
what
what
stood
was
out to you
the
the most?
Oh, me. You can go with me first. Your team, man. Your team, and my team from another team. I don't know where to start with this because I'm not as close to it as you are, of course, but I was a very big advocate of the Antonio Pierce signing when it happened. I was a big advocate. I'm not gonna say a big advocate of somebody losing a job, but when he was relieved of his duties, I understood why. Didn't turn anything negative towards it. Now, Pete Carroll showed up, and it was all about Pete Carroll being the adult in the room. They had to go from being a franchise that hired a young, inexperienced guy that was not ready to be a head coach to the oldest guy in the room. Now, problem is, we talked about this before, when these type of head coaches take over these type of organizations, they have their minds and their will and their egos made up that they're going to turn things around immediately. This is not a rebuild, this is a reload, and we'll be winning within 1 to 2 years. Has Pete Carroll bitten off more than he could chew with the Raiders? And exactly in your estimation, what the hell is the problem, man? Because like here in Detroit, we figured out years ago what the deep rooted issue with us and why we couldn't hire the right coach and we couldn't hire the right GM. And what do you think it is ultimately? We know what it is in Dallas. We pretty much know what it is in Cleveland. We know what it is in Arizona. What the hell is it with the Raiders?
I mean, there's a lot, right? I mean, first off, the quarterback situation with Geno Smith. Offense was held under 100 yards against KC. They were not able to score a single point. He just has not been playing well. I mean, I know they beat the Patriots, right? They beat the Titans. They should have beat the Bears. But to me, Geno Smith hasn't looked good out there. And obviously, Brock Bowers not being out there hurts this offense. Offensive line issues. Now that Colt Miller is going to be out, they need to figure that out. Just a lot, man. And let's unpack. The back end of the defense is not playing well either. And then Max Crosby got hurt on Sunday against the Chiefs with the knee injury. Looked like a bad tackle from a Chiefs player. And then once he went out, and then once he said he was going to be out the whole game, I mean, we didn't stand a chance on defense.
We all know around the country just from watching the Raiders and watching Max Crosby from the outside looking in. He seems like the type of guy that the entire locker room follows, not just the defensive guys, but the offensive guys. Is there any sign of quitting the defense that you see from them, or
Uh,
are they just completely overmanned?
to be honest with you, the defense has probably been the I guess the highlight of this team. Besides, last weekend against the Chiefs, right? I mean, the defense has done its job for the most part. Just the offense can't get anything going, right? I mean, if you think about the Commanders game, that was a bad loss. But I mean, Sunday was crazy, man. Really bad loss. Couldn't get anything going on offense. And I know the Chiefs are loaded now that Rasheed Wright is back now on the football team. But I mean, not to score a single point, embarrassing.
Yeah, the time of possession, the third down percentages, it was rough. It reminded me sort of what the Atlanta Falcons, was it 31 to nothing shutout they suffered at the Carolina Panthers a few weeks ago, how it felt, where they never even crossed the 50-yard line the entire game, which is outrageous, man. Why has it gotten so bad? Like with every passing week, because you say, you mentioned that was week 1 just a mirage because, and I've said this prior plenty of times about week 1 wins because I don't give teams too much credit for week 1 wins because week 1 you're bound to catch somebody off guard. Nobody knows who you are. You don't know who they are. They don't know what to really expect from you schematically, defensively or offensively, and it's very easy to catch a team week 1 and score some cool points off of them. Why has it gotten so bad
Well,
with each passing week?
when you think about week 1, Brock Bowers was having a really good game, and then he hurt his knee. And he's been kind of limited since. He's been playing with a brace, and now he's been out the last couple of games. So when you take away your best offensive weapon, obviously the offense is not going to be as good as with, Brock Bowers. The running game, they can't seem to get things going. I know he had, a game or two where Ashton looked good, but the blocks aren't there. And just the wide receiver core, right? Jacoby Myers reports are that he still wants to get traded. So, I mean, maybe he gets moved. Trey Tucker, probably the best receiver on the team besides Brock Bowers. He was not able to get involved right? This past weekend against Kansas City. It's all that, man. It's Geno Smith, Chip Kelly. I don't know how much money they paid him. I know it was a lot, but he just cannot seem to figure things out. He's not making the right offensive play calls, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but what I see that. And then Geno not being able to execute. And then Geno gets benched. I mean, the game was out of hand, right? Kenny Pickett comes in. I was like, all right, let's see what Kenny can do. And then he fumbles the first snap. Obviously,
Tiny hands.
obviously, this team is at a crossroads. They're on a bye this week. They play Jacksonville here in a couple weeks, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens, but it's going to be very, very difficult to keep up in this division now that Kansas City is starting to get rolling. Denver, pretty good defense, right? Big win against the Giants on Sunday, and we'll get to that here in a bit. But it's just not good, man. Pete Carroll,
I mean, it's easy. It's easy for us to get hindsight now when you reflect back on the NFL draft. Every fan base does it. If you look back at it now, as far as the fan base, is Ashton Genty, and he hasn't had really the best opportunity. He hasn't been dealt the best hand neither in regards to the offensive line and Brock Bowers being there as another weapon offensively that can help take some of the pressure off of him. Do people feel like maybe they could have went in a different direction outside of Genty? Especially if you see some of the other running backs that are having success this year so far as rookies.
yeah, well, look, not just the running back position, but the quarterback position, right? If you never
Yeah.
traded for Geno Smith and give him that big contract, now that we know what Jackson Dart looks like, they probably would have drafted him, right? I was a fan of Jackson. Before the draft, during the draft, we had talked about it. Look, I'm not saying that Ashton wasn't worth, picking that high because I think he's a really talented back, but just the offensive line, big issues, man. Besides Colton Miller, and I don't know what's going on with Power Johnson. Um, he was at center last year, now he's at guard, and to me, he's a better center than guard. I don't know what you think, but um, yeah, man, just a lot of issues on this football team. And Pete Carroll, what, he's 74. I mean, if things end bad as I think they might end, does he even come back?
Well, I think it was criminal that they had such a small level of concern for the amount of development that this team and this roster and that organization needed. And it all points back to the draft. They didn't even draft a quarterback at all, did they?
No. Well, they signed undrafted
Yeah. Yeah.
quarterback Cam Miller.
And yep, and I think that lets you know right there where Pete Carroll's brain was at. Screw developing people. I mean, screw developing players for your organization. I'm here to win right now. And as an organization, if you're the Raiders, you're the Jets, you're the Browns, whoever it may be, you have to be self-aware enough to know exactly who the hell your organization is right now, today. Um, and if I was running the Raiders, if you were running the Raiders today and you fired Pete Carroll, and you were thinking about hiring some veteran head coach, you have enough self-awareness to understand that there's no coach that can walk into this organization right now and tell me we're gonna win next year. Like, you know exactly what the roster looks like, you know what the quarterback situation is. This is a team that needed younger players and development and a year to grow, and this organization and, well, this coaching staff felt like, "Oh, we're winners, and we're here to win right now." And the approach, I feel, was completely off for what this organization needed.
Well, here's the thing too. Obviously, they wanted to talk to Ben Johnson. They did. He took the interview just because of Tom. So I mean, ideally, Ben Johnson would have been the hired. Ian O'Connell got hurt, during the preseason. So I think if he was healthy and he's going to be back after the bye week, maybe they would have, benched Geno sooner. And maybe look, obviously they know the room better than us. So they know that, Kenny Pickett is not a big upgrade from Geno Smith. Let's just see what Geno can do. And look, you can't keep firing coaches, obviously, right? I mean, if there's one thing about this franchise, that there's a lot of turnover pretty often. And in my opinion, you can't keep on doing that. So unless Pete retires, I think he's gonna be back next year. But obviously, they need to upgrade essentially everywhere. You need a number one wide receiver, in my opinion. Still, George Pickens is gonna be a free agent at the end of this year, unless he gets a contract offer from the Cowboys. And at this point, I think he might. How much is that going to cost? I'm not too sure. But I mean, look, going into the offseason, they're going to have to draft a quarterback, in my opinion. You cannot roll out next season with just Geno Smith.
I doubt if he's there. You know how it gets, like, when you bench a young quarterback, there's always a good chance that, okay, you know what, we benched him in week 4, didn't play him the rest of the season, but heading into training camp, you're our number one guy. When it comes to a veteran quarterback like Geno Smith that's been around for a long time, once you bench a guy like that, typically he doesn't become the starter again. And he's making too much money, and you thrust upon him this type of situation way too early. and that's crazy for a veteran quarterback. But you gave him too much money and you put him in a situation to be the starter to the point that he can't even be the backup next year. Like that's the crazy part about it, and you could go with a Jameis Winston, and I will say this. People may laugh at Jameis Winston. I don't at all. I think Jameis is a great guy. Every locker room he's been a part of, back from Florida State to his high school days, everybody loves him. All of his former teammates love him. And culturally, they talked about how good he's been for Jackson Dart and his development as well. I think also Jameson Williams has not Jameson Williams. I think Jameis Winston has come to grips with he's matured a lot too. And I think he's come to grips with the NFL reality that he may never get another chance to be
Yeah.
a starter, which is terrible
Well,
because there's a lot of awful quarterbacks out here that keep getting opportunities.
yeah.
But if you want to at least get somebody in the quarterback room that's probably better for the locker room than Geno, Jameis makes more sense. Is he the long-term answer? Probably not, or maybe he is. You don't know,
But
but
wait, and
I think he's better for whoever you pick next year than to have him around than Geno.
But to me, that's what you need. You need a long-term answer. Think about everyone that used to crap on Derek Carr. At least he was consistent, even
Yeah.
around a lot of turnover, right? I mean, John Gruden, Jack Del Rio, I mean, Tony Sperano, oh my God, Dennis Allen. I mean, there's been coaches, right? A lot of different coaches around Derek when he used to play for the Raiders. But to me, he was pretty good, in my opinion, from what we had from after Rich Gannon left the Raiders. He's been the best quarterback since Rich Gannon, right? And now that he's gone, Josh McDaniels messed that up. And now it's like a carousel, man. They're trying to figure it out. I don't think Pete Carroll wants to admit that he might have been wrong trading for Geno Smith, right? Because when you look at Seattle, they signed Sam Darnold the offseason. I think for the money was pretty similar, right? But Sam's looked good. Besides the Monday night against the Texans, Sam's looked better than Geno.
Much better team too.
Yeah.
Like he's surrounded by a lot more talent over there as well. It's just I just think that I get Jameis Winston isn't the long-term answer, or we assume he's not old by NFL standards. He hasn't played any damn football for the most part since he left Cleveland a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's great for the locker room. I think more than anything else, because I had to witness it here in Detroit. And people, I understand this has become like a real major token word in football, but culture. I think culture really does matter in football, probably more than football and baseball probably matter a lot more than a lot of these other sports, man. And you got a guy in Max Crosby, you know exactly what he is or who he is. You have to take small baby steps. Now, granted, Jameis could turn out to be the starter next season for dirt cheap pennies. He could bring the locker room around. I think people underestimate how much having a quarterback you actually like as your
That might
quarterback
be the only
matters,
reason
man.
why Geno Smith's not been benched because Pete Carroll likes him. And at
Well,
one
Pete
point, he
likes him,
believed it.
but he also got his jaw broke by a teammate. So, and none of his teammates helped him.
Yeah. But
So
look,
that was also younger.
yeah.
I get it.
I mean, obviously not an ideal situation with the Raiders. I mean, you
Nah,
had aspirations of what it was going to look like better than last year. It's looked kind of worse to be honest with you at this point.
now it ain't kind of worse. It's way worse.
Well, I mean, the
This
reason
team is
kind of
worse
worse
than
is
right
because
now than what they were under Pierce.
the reason why I'm saying kind of worse is because the season's not over yet, right? So maybe I don't know, they can start winning some games, right? At least be competitive and not get blown out and not score any offensive points.
I think it's going to be tough for them during this type of NFL season to really bounce back towards the end and score some easy wins off teams, resting players, whatever, because there's so much parity this year. So there's probably nobody's anywhere near eliminated right now,
No,
except for maybe, well,
Tennessee.
yeah, I mean, the Ravens are record-wise are awful right now, but we feel like once Lamar comes back, they'll win games or whatnot.
Yeah, they might be able to go on a run, but I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to win the division. I mean, they got a little bit of life now and we'll talk about that Cincinnati Pittsburgh game later on in the show. But because of that, I mean, there might be an opportunity to win the division. But to me, it's going to be really tough. They got some injuries. They do have some players coming back, but obviously, Baltimore's situation is a lot different than what the Raiders have. Ravens have a quarterback. The Raiders do not.
Yeah, I just think that the AFC and the NFL as a whole is just so competitive this year because there's so much parity that there's going to be so much competition weeks 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's going to be difficult for like the lower end teams to go out there and score some easy wins towards the end of the season like they normally do.
Yeah, and well, let's think about this, right? And I know we're going to talk about the Colts here in a bit, but At any point in the offseason, did you ever think the Colts at this point of the season were going to be 6-1?
6-1, hell no.
No way.
Better offensively than what they were under Anthony Richardson and everybody else from Phillip Rivers
Joe
to
Flacco,
this
Jaco-
painter.
Jacoby Brissett. We keep naming them.
Everybody post luck.
Yeah.
Everybody post luck. No, we did a show before the season, a few shows before the season started, and we discussed that. And we talked
Yeah.
about how more than likely he would end up being the starter because he can consistently distribute the football, and that's the most important thing in this day and age to be an NFL quarterback. Everything else that you can do, 42-inch vertical, 4.3 and all that, that's
Yeah.
icing on the cake. None of that matters if you can't distribute the football from the pocket in a
Uh,
timely manner.
you know what? Anybody could have had Daniel Jones. He was a free agent, but obviously he felt that he can be the starting quarterback of the Colts because of Anthony Richardson's struggles, right?
Good team, though.
Yeah, it's a good football team, especially when Jonathan Taylor's running the ball like he is.
Yeah, Taylor's running the ball like he is. Quentin Nelson's healthy. Right now, he's playing like back to playing like the best guard in football again. They lost Ryan Kelly. They lost a couple other guys, but overall, as a unit, that offensive line is back to playing at an elite level. Pittman looks good because he's got a consistent quarterback to feed on the football. Josh Downs as well is playing better because he has a consistent quarterback throwing on the football. The defense has always been stout. They struggle with making plays and getting turnovers for the most part. But the Colts are a good team. We've been saying for the past, 3 years, 4 years, if you go back to after Andrew Luck left, this was a team that was habitually 7, 8, 9 wins hovering around that. They even made the playoffs the year after when they had
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers and they lost in the wild card round to Buffalo.
And while we could easily be talking about the Colts being undefeated right now, because that loss against the Chargers to me was kind of like who was it, Mitchell, that fumbled the ball or dropped the ball before crossing the end zone?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
could be undefeated.
Could be. No, it wasn't the Chargers. Wasn't it the Rams?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Rams. LA. That's same shit.
Yeah, and it's not just Daniel Jones out there check downs, hand off to Taylor. He's making big throws as well.
Yeah. He's just playing the way he needs to play. He's not trying to make too much out of it, not trying to, be a playmaker, just making plays when he can. Right. And
Look at
obviously
the
when
difference
you
the quarterback makes. Look
yeah,
at the difference the
it's
quarterback
crazy.
makes.
That's
Shane was
why
getting fired.
well, and then you
Quarterback.
asked me what the problem was with the Raiders. It comes down to the quarterback. It really does. And I
Yeah,
don't know. We'll see what happens with the rest of the season for the Raiders. But do I have high expectations the rest of the year? I do not.
yeah. I mean, you can't and when you look around the rest of the league, you see what Darnold left Minnesota doing, and he's picked up right where he left off in Seattle. I'm having success there. You look at Daniel Jones, as we mentioned, the struggles he had in New York. He immediately goes to a ready to contend, a ready to compete NFL team right now in Indianapolis Colts that just needed a consistent quarterback. He's having success. Baker Mayfield left Cleveland, struggled in Carolina because they weren't ready to compete for a damn thing. The Rams just needed him as a backup at that point in time, so he didn't really have a legit chance to do anything for the Rams. Lands in Tampa and been in the playoffs ever since. So I think people are realizing now that the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Pat Mahomes of the world, even Justin Herbert to a lesser extent, he's not accolade wise or level wise on their go that those players
Yeah.
levels right now. But talent wise, he's right there with all those guys. Those guys don't grow on trees, man. And you're better off having a damn good football team and finding somebody that can consistently lead the team.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna go off a little bit off script, but I want to ask you about JJ McCarthy. Kevin O'Connell says that he's still not right. Do you think he's not right? Or you don't think that Kevin O'Connell wants him to start yet again?
How the hell would I know?
What do you think?
I'm just I think he was hurt. I think he
You think
just
he's still
had a
hurt though?
baby. I think he just had a baby. I think that there's a few things that factoring into making sure he's right before they bring him back out there because they're not winning with Wentz neither. So it's like I
Well,
don't.
they had their opportunities last week against the Eagles. Carson missed some throws. Yeah. But again, it kind of goes back to the quarterback situation and how much of a difference they look this year compared to last year under Sam.
Yeah, and you see, I guess it's not every quarterback because Wentz isn't having any real success in Minnesota. He did the first game, and since that first game, it's been all downhill since then. They beat Cleveland, they lost to Pittsburgh across the water. This is crazy right now, man. This is crazy what's going on in the league. We getting all of these veteran quarterbacks reaching their renaissance in their careers right now. Like I said, we mentioned Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and, you know, Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones, we see what he's doing with the Colts. That's really no guarantee that if he went to the Raiders, he'd be doing that for the Raiders.
It's not a guarantee, but I think the
I
offense
think
might
they
look
would be a
a little
lot
bit better.
better because yeah,
Yeah.
I think they would be a lot better though, honestly. And that could be just hindsight because we see Daniel playing so well with the Colts. But if you look at Jacoby Myers, you guys have some guys on offense that can catch the football. Let's be real about it. You got a few playmakers, and the offensive line isn't great. Daniel can move. Daniel can scoot a little bit. You know, Raiders are still a few players away. I
They
think we
are.
all understand that, but we can agree that when you land on the quarterback, you hit on the quarterback for that matter, it makes things look a hell of a lot different.
All right, well, let's talk about the Monday night doubleheader. Let's start off with the Lions and Bucks. Jahmyr Gibbs had a career high 218 yards of offense and 2 touchdowns, helping the Lions bounce back from that bad loss against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Prime time once again for Daniel Jones, for Dan Campbell and his team. That team is virtually unbeatable in prime time, especially when they throw on those all black unis. Wasn't the cleanest performance offensively. Kevin Shepard, defense coordinator, put on a clinic. Not having Brian Branch, not having Kirby Joseph, being without DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, being without your top three corners for that matter. Amik Robertson, the nickelback, had to move back out to the outside. He played a hell of a game. And a lot of people don't know 3 of those corners that played for us last night that got past breakups were guys that we signed over the past 7 days. So I don't agree with everything GM Brad Holmes does, but he has a way of finding players in the bargain bin when you really need them. Like down the stretch of last season, we got Jamal Adams for 1 game. Didn't do too much after that. But which was it? It wasn't the Dallas game. No, it wasn't the Dallas game, but yeah, there were a handful of games down the stretch where we had to go out and get some guys off the free agent market to come in short notice within 5 or 6 days, play some corner, play some defensive line, and actually give valuable snaps. Now, I told you prior to the video, it felt kind of weird because I know Tampa wasn't fully healthy. I don't apologize for winning games in the NFL though, but Tampa wasn't healthy. We weren't healthy. There was a lot of star power that didn't play last night. Now, there was some star power that did play last night that we find kind of questionable, and that's Mike Evans, whether he ever should have been out there last night. I went out there, tried to give it a go on a hamstring and wound up with a broken clavicle and the concussion. You mentioned not Jackson Smith and Jigaba, but Emeka Ibuka, the other Ohio State wide receiver. He was nowhere near healthy at all, and Baker looked a lot off. You know, he's playing with guys that he's not accustomed to throwing to consistently. He may throw to those guys in practice, may have got a lot of reps with those guys in camp, but those aren't his guys. So he went into a situation where, you know, he had one hand tied behind his back, but Baker and Tampa had their opportunities. There were some questionable calls in that game, but Baker missed a lot of throws. His timing looked off. We did a good job in regards to keeping him in the pocket and not allowing him to roll around outside, get outside and make a lot of big plays downfield, which is accustomed to what Baker likes to do. And, you know, we've seen a lot of Baker the last 3 years, man. That's what
Yeah.
people forget. The Lions, and I called it that first team to 20 was going to win that game because it's always a 22-16 game, a 2017 type of game. That's dating back to the last 3 years. Very interesting game, and wouldn't be surprised if we see that team again come playoff time.
Yeah, obviously, the story of the game was the injury to Mike Evans, and we know that he was coming off a hamstring injury. To me, I don't think he was fully healthy. I don't think he should have been out there. But obviously, now with the injury and with the concussion, he's probably out the rest of the year, right? And he might not play another down for the Bucks. I believe he's scheduled to be a free agent this offseason.
Yeah, I think it's rough for him. Now the question is, do you think he still wants to play football?
I think he does. I don't think he wants to end his career like this. But I mean, if you're the Bucks, unless he signs on a cheap deal, you've done a pretty good job drafting receivers, right? You still have Chris Godwin. Obviously, he didn't play yesterday, right? Because he's still dealing with an injury. But I mean, what's it going to cost to bring Mike back?
Well, yeah, you know, when you look at the fact that they got Tez Johnson and Emeka Ibuka both in this past draft. So those are guys that's part of the future right there. Godwin, big time talent, very fast, never healthy, can't depend on him. Mike Evans been the epitome of dependability, except for the last couple years when he's been nicked up. So I think what it comes down to with Tampa is I'm pretty sure they want him back, but at what
Yeah,
number? It
exactly.
always when you get to a certain age in the NFL, they put a number on your head.
Yeah.
Well,
I
let
mean,
me go back. Not in that way, not in that way, but
we're not trying to
kind
promote
of in that
violence on the
way.
show.
Kinda in that way, though, but they put
Uh,
a tag on you and say, "This is what we think
yeah,
you're worth. How bad do you wanna still be here, Mike?"
yeah, and look, I don't think he's done playing. Obviously, I don't think he wants to end his career like this. So, I mean, I think we'll see Mike Evans again, but will it be with the Bucks? Not sure.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell, man. Only time will tell, but like I said, it was a good win for us last night, 24-9, beating a 5-1 team, and under any conditions, we needed that game, especially when you're talking about playoff seeding potentially later on in the seasons. Hell of a win for us.
All right, let's talk about the second game and the Monday night doubleheader. Seattle, despite four turnovers, beats the Houston Texans. Obviously, offensively, Houston just they don't look good, man, like at all. And then Nico Collins gets hurt towards the end of the game. I mean, Dalton Schultz had a good game. I believe over 100 yards receiving. If not, he's pretty close to it. But just the Texans offensively, not good. The defense kept them in the game, obviously with the four turnovers. But yeah,
I'm gonna ask you a question, and what do you think of this? I was watching the Gridiron, the
right,
new no, the Gridiron, the football show now with Gerald McCoy, Akeem Talib, what's your boy name? Skip Bayless, all those
my
guys.
boy. Why are you gonna be my
Yeah,
boy?
he is your boy, Skip
I like
Bayless.
I like Stephen A. better in Scoop.
And they brought up the question about Houston, and after they drafted CJ Stroud, should they have, in hindsight, once again, should they have taken Bijan Robinson instead of Will Anderson? Now, in hindsight, you can say that. You can say they
Well,
could have took Jahmyr Gibbs, but that's the thing. Like at that point in time, this is what I hate about this hindsight thing. People forget all of the concrete football rules that they tell you to follow when they start talking in hindsight. Everybody said Bijan Robinson was a generational talent, but should not take a running back in the top five. Now that you see what he looks like, oh well, they should have traded back up
well,
instead of for Will Anderson. They should have took Bijan.
I remember a conversation we had whenever Bijan was drafted, and we felt that the Falcons had more needs than running back.
Right, they did.
Yeah,
They had Chris Algier, who had just rushed for 1,000 yards the year prior to him getting there. Cordero Patterson was still a part of the rushing attack. You gotta remember, man, they got a defensive head coach. And these defensive head coaches, it's almost like, listen, you needed a quarterback, but you also feel like I'm a defensive guy, so I gotta get my guy too. So I get getting Will Anderson. It's a rebuild. You're a first-time head coach. You're taking over Houston. You want to get a big-time player on both sides of the football. So I get it. And Will Anderson's a really good player. It's not like they got a dud.
no,
Will
no,
Anderson's a good player, but
he made some
in
plays.
hindsight,
He made some plays last night.
yeah. But in hindsight, you could would an offensive-minded head coach did that?
No,
Maybe.
well,
I don't think the offensive-minded coach would have taken Bijan. He may have traded back up for an offensive lineman or something, a tackle or something at that point in time, but trading back up and taking, because they took Stroud, was it number 2?
yeah, because it was
Yeah.
Bryce going first and then CJ going two.
Yep, and then Richardson went 4th
Yeah,
overall to the Colts.
big
Yeah, I
mistake,
mean, so
obviously.
yeah, big mistake. So in hindsight, you can say Houston would be better off right now with Bijan Robinson as far as the development for CJ Stroud, but they still got a Pro Bowl player, so I don't factor too much in that. What do you think about that?
I mean, I guess, but I mean, running back is one of the issues, but the biggest issue is the offensive line. We've been talking about this since the offseason. That was one of the things that this team was going to struggle with was pass protect. Man, CJ was just running for his life on Monday.
Yeah, he can't run too well either.
No, he can't.
He ain't the
And,
most mobile.
obviously, offensively, weapons wise, I mean, you had Woody Marks, he had touchdown catch. Nick Chubb, we know he's not the same Nick Chubb as what he was in Cleveland. The receiver core, I mean, in my opinion, it's not too good. Dalton Schultz, I think he's all right. But Nico Collins essentially is the only thing you got.
Yeah, it's crazy how drastically things changed for them in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's great. Now they made the playoffs a year ago, even though the team as a whole regressed, but things just fell apart around CJ like within the blink of an eye, man. Like the offensive line got terrible after his rookie season. Tank Dell's leg blew up. Nico Collins can't stay healthy. Nico gives it a go constantly. And
Yeah.
shout out to Nico for that, former Michigan Wolverine. But you can't count on Nico. You got Stephon Diggs for 1 year. He got hurt. You traded John Mechie to Philadelphia. You've done it to yourself. But I can't say they completely did it to themselves because Tank Dell, to me, he was the one guy that made that offense go. Even when Nico was in and out the lineup, when Tank Dell was healthy, Tank Dell was freaking uncoverable. He
Yeah.
was uncoverable. And you know what? It was terrible what happened to him, but you can go back to Dameon Pierce. Remember when they drafted Dameon Pierce?
Yeah,
He had that great rookie season. Everybody thought Dameon Pierce was going to be one of the next guys. He's been nothing since then.
yeah. I mean, he's third on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know, the
Joe
defense has
Mixon,
been good though.
yeah, defense has been good. Obviously, Joe Mixon's still not back. Look, at this point, I don't even think he's going to come back this year. So maybe the offense looks different with Joe in there. But again, if you can't pass protect, you can't run. They're not going to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, just looking ahead for this team for 2026, or at least the 2026 draft and free agents for that matter, where do you go? You know, I mean, if you're talking about the draft, you're trending towards probably being a picking in the top 10.
Oh yeah,
Because
no
you look,
doubt.
yeah, maybe top 7 for that matter, potentially. There's really no wide receiver help at that spot. There's no tight end help at that spot. Your best bet to get a tight end, even though they did get was a
Uh,
Dalton Schultz from Dallas
Yeah,
in free agency,
I
but
like I like him. He's a good player.
yeah, but you need to figure out how the hell you're gonna reinvent the offense. Like, if you don't have any wide receivers, get more tight ends. It may sound simple as hell, but you may have to completely reinvent your offense and play bigger football. Start running the football more. More 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets from time to time. Get you another pass catching tight end
Uh,
because what's going on right now isn't working.
yeah, I mean, what do you think of the offensive play calling? Is it Todd Haley's son that's calling the offense? By the way.
I believe so.
Okay. To me, it kind of seemed like they didn't trust CJ, especially towards the end of the game with some of the play calling they did. They were running the ball late, and obviously time was not on their side because you burned 2 of your timeouts. They score, right? Kick the extra point. So my thought is, and we just had this conversation a couple weeks ago. You kick the ball out of bounds. It does not matter to get the ball at the 40 because at that time you preserve time on the other side of the 2-minute warning. You still have one timeout, right? So gives you a little bit more time if you get the ball back.
I can't disagree with that at all. You know, I heard some Houston Texans fans earlier today, and it's crazy how quickly things shift as a head coach in the NFL. Like, there's people there that really want him fired. Coach of
Yeah,
the year a couple years ago.
that's crazy. All right, let's talk about probably the game of the day on Sunday between the Broncos and the Giants. I mean, look, going into the fourth quarter, I thought the Giants were going to win this football game. Bo Nix leads the Broncos to score 33 points in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, and
I
they end
like
up winning the game on a field goal.
I like that. And my apologies to Bo Nix, man. I had a lot of Bo Nix PTSD from his Auburn days, seeing him play there. And a lot of people don't know Bo Nix was a 5-star. I forgot which class was he wasn't in the
Man,
Trevor Lawrence high school
he
class.
he was in college football forever, man. I mean, he played at
Yeah.
Auburn, then transferred to Oregon.
Yeah, I forgot whose class he was in though. He may have been in the Bryce Young class, right along with DJ Uyunglele and all of them. He another guy that stuck around for a while. But sit down, buddy. That's my dog.
He doesn't like
Um,
the DJ Slanger.
DJ Uyunglele. His little brother's pretty good though at Oregon, the edge rusher. Yeah, it's Bo was a 5-star quarterback. He was considered one of the guys. You know, coming out of high school, 5-star quarterback, could have went to play anywhere, went to Auburn. Oddly enough, was there with Malik Willis. A lot of people don't know Malik Willis started at Auburn before he transferred to Liberty. A lot of guys went through, traveled through that Auburn quarterback pipeline. But yeah, you know, he struggled in Auburn. I was hard on him. You know, but now that I look back on it, him, Jaden Daniels going from Arizona State to LSU, sometimes, even in the NFL, we talked about Daniel Jones leaving the Giants, finding a better opportunity that fit him with the Indianapolis Colts. Sometimes it's not the quarterback, it is the system. As crazy as that may sound to some football fans, it's not always the quarterback. Sometimes it's the coaches, it's the coaching, sometimes it's the scheme, it's the system, it's what you ask them to do. He went to Oregon. That first year at Oregon was still kind of sketchy. After that, man, well, I ain't even say the first year. I would say probably the first half of his first season in Oregon, things was kind of sketchy. But after the first half of that first season, Bo was great, man.
Yeah.
Bo was great. He looked like a completely different quarterback, and I was wrong. Like he looks like Denver is his team, and he looked like that last year. I get it. He was a super senior. He played 5 years in college, but that's Bo Nick's team, and I like to see him stand up to Sean McVay, but Sean Payton as well. So 33 points, man.
That's crazy. And look, to me, Jackson Dart played well, but he had one really bad mistake where I forget who the linebacker was that picked him off, essentially gave kind of momentum back on Denver's side. But
Yeah.
man, that game was crazy. I mean, seriously, if you would have turned off the game at the end of the third, I wouldn't have blamed you. because I thought it was done. I mean, essentially, Denver could not get anything going. Camp, it's got to be look
Yeah.
good too.
Well, Giants played one half. I think that's kind of what happened, man, because the second half, they got super conservative. They didn't attack as much as they did. Denver played better defensively also, but it felt like watching that game in its entirety, it felt like two separate games. And you
Yeah.
could
Well,
really, it was cringeworthy. You could feel the Giants in Mile High choking that game away.
yeah, it was crazy. All right. So after the game, Denver head coach Sean Payton praised rookie quarterback Jackson Dart and took a shot at Russell Wilson. Here's the quote. Sean Payton said basically that he kind of wished that they would have waited to start Jackson Dart till after they played Denver. Kind of saying like, hey, we wish we would have played against Russell Wilson.
Why everybody having so much fun picking with Russ, man? And then
Hey,
Russ
but
said something back
and he
from his
did.
burner account.
And I'll be honest with you, I was not expecting this. So let me read
No,
the
I
what
wasn't either.
what he tweeted. Classless, but not surprised. Did not realize you're still bounty hunting 15 years later through the media. Let's ride. And
Yeah.
obviously, he's referring to Bountygate in New Orleans, the year they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, that was hats off to Russ. That was a pretty good one.
Russ knows what it is. Russ ain't stupid. Russ knows. Oh, so that's the first thing I thought about when I initially heard the presser was, oh, so you wanted to hit Russ? What kind of ass is this? But it's weird, man, because I don't get what people issue is with Russ, and I can't base it on much. All I can say is this: there's something about you people don't like, bro. It has to be. But coming from our perspective, we've never heard Russ say a single derogatory thing about anybody ever. Now, me on the other hand, I've said plenty of derogatory things about countless people, but you never hear Russ clap back. So it's kind of hard. It kind of looks like people are picking on him, but then part of me feels like, dude, like, why are people picking on you so much?
Well, I mean, we've heard stories, man, when he was in Denver. Didn't he have his own like parking spot in an office or something like that?
I'm pretty sure he had his own parking spot. All these players got their own parking spots. His own
His own
office.
office though?
He said the office thing was he didn't deny the parking space though, but he said the whole office thing was hogwash.
I don't know. But obviously there's something to it. And
Yeah.
he must have done something to Sean Payton besides not play well because he does not like him. It's not the first time he's made a jab towards Russ. But yeah, no, I thought it was pretty funny that Russell Wilson actually said something back.
You don't think some of the accusations against Russ are a little fabricated,
Well,
exaggerated, or made up though? That we
and
there were players for Seattle that said they weren't allowed to talk to Russ and all this. I don't think it really went that far. Now we
well
weren't
didn't Ri-
there.
well didn't Richard Sherman say a comment
If
about
it came
Russ
from Richard,
recently?
you already know how Richard feel, man. So if it came, you already know.
Yeah. So I don't know. Big win for the Broncos. Defense made some plays towards the end. Did you see what happened towards the end at the end of the game with Greenlaw?
What happened?
So essentially, the game ended, and then he went after an official, and he said whatever he said to him, and the official threw a flag. Well, now he's been suspended 1 game without pay for that action against the referee. I don't know what he said, but he's gone 1 day or 1 game for the Broncos.
Well, whatever he said, it warranted
That's
that
been pretty
flag.
bad.
Yeah, but 33-point comeback, man. We talked about it Sunday morning when we were breaking down the games about, firsthand as a Raider fan, how crazy things get there at Mile High Stadium. Seeing some
Oh, do
wild
I know?
comebacks. Yeah, and like
Do you remember? I didn't look this up, but 33 points in the fourth quarter. Do you remember
yeah,
any games like that?
I remember, was it 31? Was it 31 points in the fourth quarter? Houston
There-
against Buffalo.
Well, and then there was a game Indianapolis against Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football.
Oh, yeah.
With like less than 4
Yeah.
minutes, 4 minutes to play. Tony Dungy was the coach of
Yeah.
the Colts, and John Gruden was the coach of the Bucks. It wasn't 30-some points.
Yeah, that was the infamous Keyshawn Johnson game where he talked about how overrated Marvin Harrison was and all this other stuff, and then Marvin Harrison torched him in the fourth quarter, and then Keyshawn shut up.
Yeah, he just cooked them.
Yeah, he did.
Uh,
Great call.
yeah,
Great
but
call.
Denver looks good.
Yeah, man.
Great win by Bo Nix and that defense. Nick Bonito, man, that guy's really good.
Yep. Pass rusher out of Oklahoma. That's pass rusher.
All right, well, let's talk about the only winless team in the NFL, the New York Football Jets. They have bench starting quarterback Justin Fields, and it looks like it's going to be Tyrod Taylor for the rest of the way. Obviously, I think Justin had got hurt in the game. He might have been checked for a concussion, but just Jets don't look good. They're struggling on offense. They might trade some players here before the deadline here in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it looks like Tyrod's going to be the starter moving forward.
Yep, and Justin is probably done as a starter in the NFL.
And we talked about that
I'm
before
not
week
even
one.
sure if you could play him as a backup, honestly. And I don't want to diminish Justin Fields like that because I was a huge Justin Fields fan in college. I really was. I was rooting for him to succeed in the NFL, even as a Lions fan when he was with the Bears. There was a lot of discussion the year he came out in that Trevor Lawrence draft. And, Lions fans were, because we took Panay Sewell, which turned out to be the absolute perfect decision. But, there was a lot of discussion around here after the Panay Sewell pick and the Bears got Justin Fields. Will we rue the day that we didn't take Justin Fields and we didn't rue the day at all, man. I'm not sure how good Justin ever was gonna be, but his first year in Chicago, I think took years off his life. As rough as he got beat up that season. Remember the Cleveland Browns game? Didn't they sack him 10 games? 10 games. It felt like 10 games worth of sacks,
Yeah,
but they sacked him 10 times in that game.
it was. Yeah, if it wasn't 10, it was pretty close. I want to
Yeah.
read you a quote, and this is from Bleacher Report. Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson thinks Aaron Glenn is turning things around. And it's hard when you have a QB with the rating that we've got. And then he goes on to say, if we could just complete a pass, it would look good. If you look at any head coach with a QB like that, you're going to see similar results.
Stop giving old people microphones, man. Nobody tells the truth like a baby. Well, not a baby, that's it, but nobody tells the truth like a kid and a senior citizen, man. Listen, I don't like this new era of GMs and team owners who are seen and heard. Remember back in the day in the 90s, you only saw the owner on the sidelines when they were getting ready to accept the championship trophy for winning the
Well,
NFC or the AFC or whatever.
I mean, but
Now
back
they
then,
on Twitter now. They
well,
on
back then,
Facebook now.
cell phones were not really a thing. So, I mean, maybe they were around, it's just you didn't see it. Yeah, not a good situation for the Jets. I think we might have talked about this a couple weeks ago, but could you see a scenario where Aaron Glenn is one and done in New York?
Uh, Judging off of those comments, no. Maybe two and done. One and done, no. Reportedly, the Justin Fields move was Aaron Glenn's move. That's what he wanted. He wanted a mobile quarterback. You look at how young and athletic Justin Fields is. He can push the ball downfield. Justin's biggest problem is that he doesn't let the football go. He's too gun shy out there. He's too unsure of himself with what he's seen. That was a big issue I think Deshaun Kaiser had in Cleveland. There's a lot of quarterbacks who they see it, but they don't see it. You can go back and watch the All 22 with Justin Fields in Chicago. You can watch it with the Jets, just strictly with the Jets this season. He struggles with play developing, anticipation, throw. That's his biggest issue. It's not that guys aren't open. It's the fact that Justin sees it but doesn't throw it consistently. He's not very accurate either. He throws a very flat football. Powerful football, but a very flat football. And we've discussed this before, man. The little things, the nuances of the game is where Justin Fields struggles at. And if you can't get rid of the ball in rhythm, keep the offense on schedule, throw guys open, and take the completions that are there and complete passes at least a 65% percentage, you're going to find yourself as a backup or out of period, man. And it's a shame. 'Cause like I said, Justin's been a model citizen since he's been in the league. Taking that type of abuse from anybody in ownership, I think is shitty, man. I don't think you should ever throw any player under the bus, especially one that's been delegated to be the leader of the team or the leader of your offense. I think it's classless. I think it's silly. I think that, like I said, you don't hand everybody a microphone. And I prefer the days when team presidents and owners, they faded to black. They sign checks, they oversee practice, they show up on the sidelines to celebrate after wins or whatever. But to throw any of your players under the bus like that indirectly, you sneak dissed your own quarterback. Let's keep it real. That's what he did.
Oh yeah,
He
I
wrote
mean,
it.
I don't think he
Yeah,
sneaked. I don't think he was trying to be sneaky. He kind of just said it.
yeah, he did. Justin
You
Fields is
know,
finished in New York now.
yeah, yeah, he's done. Maybe one person that might be enjoying this is Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get a cynical response out of him
Yeah.
about what's going on with the Jets.
Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, you know that before we ended tonight's show, we were going to have to talk about that Thursday night football game last week between the Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, Joe Flacco, he played good. I think Cincinnati made the right move by trading for Joe Flacco. He throws for 242 yards or 342 yards, and Ja'Marr Chase, 16 catches for 161 yards and one touchdown.
Absolutely. I think the Bengals found their quarterback of the future.
Well, in the future, you mean for the rest of the season? Yes.
Considering Joe's ability to not stay healthy, he may be their quarterback of the future, or they found their backup of the future.
And you know what? The Young Bull turned out to be pretty good. I know you said you weren't going to watch it, but it was a really good game. Rodgers looked good too. I mean, he
Yeah.
did have two turnovers. Bengals offense gets back on track, and we'll see what they can do the rest of the way.
Did that game make you feel any different about Pittsburgh?
It's a divisional game. I think we talked about it. Mike Tomlin, now he's 0-8 when it comes to Thursday night football games, divisional games. He hasn't won one. I mean, I don't know, divisional game. They know each other. But I mean, you know what? I thought was really funny that after the game, Joe Flacco said he didn't know some of the play calls, like at all.
Little subtle shot at
He
the
had to,
Browns.
he had to, he had to improvise, and he had a really important run towards the end of the game. I think he ran for like 10
Yeah, he
yards.
did.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah. Throw a little Browns. I would have did
Yeah.
it too. I would have looked at the camera and said, "Hey, I guess it's just beginner's luck, huh?" Man, listen, man. I don't want to bring the Cleveland Browns into a conversation, but damn,
I'm glad you did
are
because I actually
are
did want
they
to talk about the Browns before we get off.
are they just are they can't get right? You ever seen the movie Life?
Well, with Eddie Murphy,
Yeah,
yeah.
they had the one guy they were locked up in jail with can't get right. Like
Well, I mean, but
everything they do, man, turns out they crap out. We talked about the Deshaun Watson trade 3 years ago, how that was gonna blow up in their face. Like,
I
everything
mean,
blows up in this team's face, man.
well, they got kind of right against the Dolphins, and that's a whole different situation with Miami, right? I mean, the coach is a sim duck. He's gonna get fired. Tua, I mean, I thought he was gonna get benched this week. Apparently not. Mike McDaniel already came out saying that Tua is gonna be the starting quarterback this Sunday. Look, man, time's ticking on the Dolphins, the head coach, possibly the GM, and for sure Tua.
What do you make of LaShawn McCoy's comments
Which
about
ones?
Tua?
The ones about
Well,
Emmanuel Acho?
the latest rant he had about Tua.
You know what? I might have
I
not seen
think
that one.
today. He's short, he's got little arms, he can't ball far, nobody likes him, he tells all the locker room secrets, he talks too much to them. Like, he brought up a valid point though, like, if Tua had big time physical talent and skill set and size, he'd find another job quick. But when you look at his limitations and his health, saying that the health concerns he's had in the past with the concussions, and not to mention throwing teammates under the bus, not saying the right things, leadership being thrown into question. Is LaShawn McCoy brought a valid question up. Is there another organization out there, another locker room that would actually want him?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, he has not been around the best coaching situation with Mike McDaniel. Obviously, he's dealing with the injuries in the past with the concussions, but I mean, I think he will be able to compete for a job. Will he get another starting job?
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe with a better football team, possibly.
well, he also brought up another valid question to that. Is there another quarterback? Is there a starting quarterback in the league right now that he's better than, or that he's playing better than right now?
Geno,
Either.
Geno Smith.
Nah, y'all worse. Y'all be worse with Tua. At least Gino can throw the football 30 yards downfield. Cut it
Um,
out, girl.
that's a good question. Cam Ward, is he?
Nah, I'll take Cam. I'll take Cam off potential. I'll take Cam off
Yeah,
potential.
not an ideal situation for the Browns or the Dolphins. I think they're both going to get new head coaches. Quarterback situation. I mean, I don't know. What do you feel about the Browns? I doubt they draft anybody. They drafted two this year.
Well, I think that goes back to the initial statement I was making. It seems only right, like poetic justice, that this whole Shador Sanders situation would blow up in their face too. Like, they would trade him. It just seems like they're going to trade him this offseason somewhere. He's going to become the starter. He's going to go on to have a hell of a career, and Browns fans will have another thing to complain about. Because
Um,
everything seems like they handle things so poorly as an organization that I don't root for them to fail, but they handle things so poorly that you just sit back and watch them and you
well,
kind of say,
I
yeah, you're
well,
gonna get what you're asking for.
I kind of root for them to fail, but you know
I
those
know.
reasons.
Nah, I know. I get it completely.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy.
Yeah. Same. Shout out Coach Jackson. Look, and Deshaun Watson, he's supposed to come back at some point.
To do what? It's just bad. They
Hold the
create
clipboard.
their
I
own
mean, I don't know.
bad juju.
Yeah. Well, what's the worst situation? The Browns or the Dolphins?
I'd rather be the Dolphins.
Because it's Miami, not Cleveland?
Well, that's part of it. Also, I think Miami's more fixable. Even though Cleveland does have a good defense, they traded Newsom. Those defenses like that are leaned on as hard as they are. Listen, I talked about this yesterday. This team scored 30 points on Miami. That was their first time cracking 30 points since week 13 of 2024. In
Yeah,
fact, just a point to the futility, that was their first time cracking 20 points, period, since 2024, week 13. So the cupboard is kind of bare in Cleveland, skill position wise. I would rather have the Miami job because I know Cleveland does have 2 first round picks this year. I will say that. But the organization, man, how they handle things, I wouldn't want to be there.
well, it doesn't matter how
As a
many draft
coach,
picks
as
you
a
have.
quarterback,
Doesn't matter how many draft picks you have. If you don't know how to draft, it's pointless.
you're right. This is the organization that had 3 first round picks and blew all 3 of them. Because that was what, the year Johnny Manziel, Justin Gilbert, the cornerback out of Oklahoma State, he turned out to be a bust. And who was the third guy they took? They took Courtney Brown, number 1 overall, out of Penn State. He was a bust. I don't understand how in the hell Courtney Brown went number 1 overall. But yeah, they've blown a lot of draft picks, man.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
All right. Well, before we end the show, give me your pick for Thursday night football, Vikings Chargers.
Vikings Chargers. I like that Vikings defense. I like that Chargers defense. Wentz has been bad pretty much ever since. Well, he was kind of average against Cleveland.
It wasn't that bad.
He wasn't that bad. Nothing like he was the very first game, though. But once the league figured him out, they figured him out again.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers as well. And on that note, thank you everyone out there for watching. We'll talk to you guys next week. Enjoy the games.